Well, hello everybody. Let me go over what we got going on today. Hopefully, between you guys and my sub, you've already got the first part completed. Hopefully, if you had any questions over the worksheet, you got those answered between my sub or a friend. And then you've already taken that quiz. I am hoping that you got 100%. And remember, this time of year, we don't even call it a quiz, the grade-raising opportunity. What I will need to go over with you, though, is bring out your Day 3 class examples. Not your Day 3 assignment. You'll get that here in a little bit. But bring out your Day 3 class examples, because that's what we're going to be doing today. I've got 5 or 6 on there to do with you. They're really kind of easy. You just got to follow some steps. And then your assignment is really pretty simple, guys. Finish up that packet, the ones that we did not do from last time. If I remember right, you've already done 1 and 2. So really it's 3 through 8. Those are the ones where you do what we're going to do. 13 through 16, you're just going to graph them and tell me if an inverse function exists. So that shouldn't be too shabby. If you need it, if you missed class and you still owe me a quiz, I went ahead and placed the answers on here for your viewing pleasure. So you can always hit pause on the video and check last time's sheet. If you're watching it right after your quiz, you really don't need these because you've already turned that in. But like I said, if you haven't, you missed class and you're behind now, these are the answers to what our quiz was over. Especially 25 and number 26. Those are our quiz review questions. And then, most of you, if you've already taken the quiz, then we are ready to rock and roll on this. What I need to do super fast, guys, is I need to review a couple of things with you. Today, I'm going to ask you to sketch. Keyword sketch. It doesn't have to be very good. I'm going to ask you to sketch a graph. So I just want to take you for a trip down memory lane. I need to make sure that you remember how to graph a function when it's already solved for y. So I got f of x equals 2/3 x minus 4. That's the same thing as y equal 2/3 x minus 4. Remember, this is your slope. This is the y-intercept. So the graph of this, just super fast, I'm going to start down here at -4. I'm going to go up 2 and over 3. My slope is 2/3, so I went up 2 and over 3. Connect those two dots, and bam, there's that line. You're going to see some written like this, though, today. 5x minus 2 over 3. What I'm going to have you do today when we graph these is I'm going to have you rewrite this as 5x over 3 minus 2 over 3. Now, don't panic. We're not going to graph these very accurate today. My y-intercept is -2/3. What do I know? I know that's between 0 and -1, so I'm going to call it right there. If I'm off, I'm off. No big deal. My slope, though, is up 5 and over 3. So up 5, so about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 3. Today on these guys, I don't care how accurate you are. You just got to give me close to a graph. Because all I'm going to ask you is 1, if it passes the vertical line test. And then 2, if it passes the horizontal line test. So here's where I got to take you today. We are on your example 4, so we're on your page 3 now of your class notes. As I go through these, here's what we got. Here's some things that we did last time. It says determining whether the inverse of a function is a function. So follow along with this. The inverse of a relation is always a relation, but the inverse of a function is not always a function. That sounds really confusing, but hang with me. How do we determine whether the graph represents a function? Remember last time when we did domain and range, we looked for the VLT, the vertical line test. So remember this, if our graph looked like this, we said yes, it was a function. If our graph looked like this, we said no, it's not a function, because it does not pass that vertical line test. What I need to introduce to you today is the horizontal line test. We need to see if the graph passes the horizontal line test. What the horizontal line test says is this: draw a horizontal line. So if I draw one right there, notice that I hit this in two places. Here's what that tells me. When I find the inverse will not be a function. So I'm going to write down here, inverse is not. When I do a horizontal line through here, though, notice it doesn't hit it more than once, so yes, it will be. So drop down to your number one real fast. This one right there, the graph. It says, tell whether the inverse of each function will also be a function. Explain your reasoning. So here's what I'm going to do. Draw horizontal lines through here. Have you hit the graph in more than one place? The answer is no. So yes, this passes the HLT, which stands for horizontal line test. Go over to your number two, though. Notice that, guys, when I draw horizontal lines, I'm hitting the graph in more than one place. So I'm going to put no. This fails the HLT. Be happy today when that shows up. When it doesn't pass a horizontal line test, we're going to skip it. We're going to go on, because the inverse isn't a function. Okay? But let me get you to the meat of the lesson. Look at that pink sheet in front of you. The reason it's pink is that's the extra paper that they had in the office, so I used it. There's some steps right here, guys, on how to find the inverse of a function. Notice that there's 5 steps. Do not skip any of these steps. When I grade, I give you a point for each step. So if you skipped a step, you just lost a point, even if your ending answer is right. The steps are really easy, especially after I go over these examples with you. So I'm going to go to my next page, which is also your number one. Look at your number one now real fast, if you would. I'm going to show you how to find the inverse of each function, and then I'll also show you how to check it real fast. Now, look at what the steps say. It says to find the equation of the inverse, follow these steps. And like I said, do not skip them. Graph or draw a sketch of the given problem. So here comes my number one. Off to the side, I'm going to draw an XY grid. And I'm going to sketch a rough graph of this. Guys, it does not have to be nice. Y equal negative 2x, or 2x minus 5. I'm going to pretend this is negative 5. I'm going to go up 2 and over 1. So there's my graph. Is it perfect? No. But does it answer some questions for me? Yes. So now I'm going to ask myself, does this pass the HLT? The answer is yes. Because as I draw horizontal lines through here, I only hit it in one place. So it passes the HLT. So step 1 is done. So now I'm going to move on to step 2. And let's just read what it says. It says replace f of x with y. You know what? So if you're really just totally lost on these, this is the easy step. Instead of f of x, I'm going to write down y equal 2x minus 5. So I just did step 2. Step 3. It says switch x and y. So in place of this x, or in place of that y, I'm going to put an x. In place of that x, I'm going to put a y. The reason I did that, remember on last time's homework, what did you do to find the inverse? If you had an XY chart that had a 2, 3 in it, the inverse had a 3, 2. Remember, we just flipped the x and the y. So that's what we're doing here. So now I'm ready for step 4. Resolve this new equation for y. Keep this simple. I need to get y by itself. So what do I need to get rid of first? I need to add a 5. So I got x plus 5 equal 2y. Now divide both sides by 2. I'm going to pause there for a second. Now I'm ready for number 5. Replace y with f negative 1 of x. That's the notation for inverse. So here goes. I'm going to say that f negative 1 of x is x plus 5 over 2. Guys, that's all there is to this. Some of the algebra might get you here in a little bit, but nothing you can't handle. If you want to check it real fast, here's an easy way to check. Pick any number in the whole wide world. I'm going to pick 0. Plug 0 into the original. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Now, if you've done a good job, the point negative 5, 0 is going to work down here. Well, what's negative 5 plus 5? 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. So an easy way to check. You don't have to, because it's not one of our steps, but that's all there is to it. Okay. Well, here goes number 2. Let's go through the steps. It says graph or draw a sketch. Well, if you will, grab your graphing calculator and type this in. I'm going to wait just a second for you to do that. I hate waiting on a video, but type that in super fast. And if you've done that, guys, like I said, the graph does not have to be pretty. But I know it does something like this. Like I said, something. So I've done step 1. I've graphed it. Now let's kind of go. Does the graph pass the HLT? Well, come back in and look at your graph. I can draw a horizontal line right here and hit the graph 3 different times. That's good news for you, to be truthful. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write fails the HLT. Inverse is not a function. Those steps are right here. It says if the graph does not pass the HLT, then write this. The graph fails the HLT, therefore the inverse is not a function. So I gave you the wording right there. So that's all there is to it. So graph it. If it doesn't pass HLT, you're done. Okay? Let's move on to number 3. So really, guys, if you're peeking ahead, I got number 3, 4, 5, and 6 to talk to you about, and that's it. Number 3, once again, step number 1, graph it. You can type this into your graphing calculator if you'd like. But something I know it's going to start up here at 12. I know it's going to go down 3 over 1. So I know I'm going to get something that looks like this. Is it perfect? No. Is it enough? You betcha. So we've done this. We graphed it. Now, does it pass the HLT? The answer is yes. So now we're down here at step number 2. So here goes these steps again. Replace f of x with y. So I'm going to write down y equal negative 3x plus 12. I'm going to go to step 3, switch x and y. Let me get back to that. Switch x and y, so I'm going to have x equal negative 3y plus 12. And here's the hardest part of the day. Resolve this thing for y. So think about your steps. I'm going to have to subtract 12. And then I'm going to have to divide both sides by negative 3. Now I'm ready to write my answer. Come down to number 5. Replace y with f negative 1 of x. So I'm going to say f negative 1 of x, which is notation for the inverse. And I'm going to write this. X minus 12 over negative 3. That's the easiest way to write it. You could, if you wanted, write it like this. 1 over negative 3x. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. So either of those would work. This is going to be your simplest. So guys, when I'm grading, 5 points right here. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. Skip a step, you lose those points. Okay? So keep it simple for me. Here goes number 4. Let's come back. Do step 1. Graph it. You could type that thing into your graphing calculator real fast. And when you do that, you're going to get a graph that looks something like that. So we've done part 1. And then it says, does the graph pass the HLT? So let me switch colors. Look at my line that I just drew there. Fails the VLT. So what are we going to write? If the graph does not pass the HLT, then write fails the HLT. The inverse is not a function. Meaning that if we graph the inverse, it's going to look something like this. Would not pass the vertical line test. But that's all there is to it. Looks like we got 2 more to go is all. Here's number 5. Now, when you graph this one, guys, here's how I'm going to have you do it first. This way it'll be the easiest. Rewrite this as this. I'm going to write this as 4x over 2 plus 3 over 2. That'll be your easiest way to graph it. So here's what you're going to graph. 4x divided by 2 is 2x plus 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Here's what we're going to graph. So once again, just in case, all I did is I split it up. I thought of this as 4x over 2 plus 3 over 2, and then I reduced it. 4x divided by 2 is 2x plus 1.5. So now when you graph this, I know it's going to start right here about 1.5. I know my slope is up 2 and over 1. So it's not perfect. Notice there's no grids in there, guys. There's not going to be any grids in yours either. So here goes. We've done step 1. It does pass the HLT. So on to step number 2. Come back to your original. I'm going to call this y equal 4x plus 3 all over 2. So you just earned a point. Switch the x and the y. So I got x equal 4y plus 3 over 2. And then now it says resolve this bad boy for y. Here's how to do that. Most of you already know. I'm going to put that x over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply. When I cross multiply, here's what I've got. I'm going to have x times 2, so I'm going to have 2x equal 4y plus 3 times 1. Now my fractions are gone. Now solve this thing for y. So I'm going to minus 3. And then I'm going to divide by 4. So my answer, f negative 1 of x, is 2x minus 3 over 4, or if you want to split it up, 2x over 4 minus 3 over 4. And I can call 2x over 4 x over 2. Like I said earlier, guys, there's your easiest answer. Notice that right here, this slope was 4 over 2. Notice that this happens to be 2 over 4. So just a little thing to look at. It looks like I got one more, so it looks like my video is going to be about 25 total minutes. That's not bad. So once again, when you graph this, let's graph it like this. 5x over 10 minus 2 over 10, which is going to be 1/2 x minus 2 divided by 10 is what, 0.2? You could type that into your graphing calculator. Otherwise, though, I know it's going to start just below the y-axis, go up 1 and over 2. Ask yourself, does that pass the horizontal line test? And the answer is, dun dun dun, yes. So now we're coming down to number 2. Come back to the original. In place of f of s, let's put y. So I got y equal 5x minus 2 over 10. Step number 3, switch the x and the y. So I got x equal 5y minus 2 all over 10. I'm going to cross multiply. So I've got 10x equal 5y minus 2. And then just solve that. Let's add 2 to this side. Divide by 5 to get y. So here's my answer. F negative 1 of x equal 10x plus 2 all over 5. Or, if you don't like the way that looks, 10 divided by 5 is 2, so I got 2x plus 2 divided by 5. Boom. So that's all there is to it, guys. That's how you find the inverse. So really, what do you have going? Just finish up last time's assignment for me. So that would be rest of that packet. There's not that many. We talked about it on the first, and that's what we'll take next time. I can't remember if I have a homework quiz built in for next time or not, but probably assume that we do. This time of year, I'm going to try to grade raise opportunity as much as I can. So good luck on the assignment. If you fully don't understand, I'll be back in school, so get back and see me. Good luck.